Today, let's install some radius arm drop brackets. So if you go under the front suspension of the new Ram truck, you'll see a radius arm. What a radius arm does, it goes from the frame all the way down and holds onto the axle. It keeps the axle centered in the fender well and allows the suspension to travel up and down and put all of our motion into the spring. Well, I put a leveling kit on this truck, so it actually changes the angle of the radius arm. I want to do a radius arm drop bracket to bring the radius arm back down flat, so when I hit a bump, less deflection is put into the radius arm and it actually rides smoother. And it's also going to take that front axle and push it forward a little bit and give me some clearance on the front fender there for my tires. Now that's not the only benefit to running a radius arm drop bracket on this style of truck. The other aspect of it is we're going to give the axle more positive caster. What that's going to do is give you a better steering feel. It's actually going to feel tighter and want to drive straighter. Now in order to drop the radius arms down, Synergy came up with a set of brackets. Now, if you have somebody else's leveling kit in your truck already, these brackets will work fine with it. I have a Synergy leveling kit in this truck, so we're all good to go there. But what it's gonna do, these brackets, and they're nice, they're heavy too. They're gonna go up over the frame. You see this? That's gonna mount on the transmission cross member, and you have two sets of holes. These are the original mounting location for that radius arm, and down here we have a slotted set of holes. Now, why are these lower holes slotted? Well, Synergy sends you a machined washer right here, and it gives you two options. You can either A, move the axle forward 1/2 inch, or flip it around and move the axle forward 1.5 inches. Now both these, this also gives you more caster adjustment, and it's all gonna depend on what size tires, maybe what size lift, how much it's gonna move. But it gives you two options that you can set that front axle right where you need to be to give you the most amount of clearance and to give you the best drivability. So now we know how they work. I got my instructions right here. Let's get them on the truck. All right, so I have the front axle supported, and the first thing I'm gonna do is take out this bolt right there in the radius arm. Now, there is pressure, so when it comes down, so be ready. The next thing is the transmission cross member under here. There's two bolts that we're gonna need to remove. This is what holds your transmission up. You're gonna need to support this before you take them two bolts out. What we're gonna replace them with is two longer bolts that Synergy provides with their bushings on the end of them. So as you can see, we have the two bolts that we've replaced. We did them one at a time. We got our bushings on there waiting. The radius arm is supported and lowered down. We're gonna take our bracket and put that up over the frame and then start installing our mounting bolt. This will be our new radius arm mounting position. Up inside here, there's a bolt that goes in the stock position. Make sure they send you these sleeves. That sleeve goes inside the bracket, inside there. Next, there's our two bolts with our bushings behind them. This bolt goes up through the top of the frame and a nut goes up on top of there. And there's one more hole that comes right up in here that we're gonna drill out. We come around to the other side, you see that I have the radius arm supported and it's dropped. Now, you won't get enough down travel if you don't unhook both these radius arms at once, so you're gonna have to support them. Now, when you put this drop bracket in, this bushing is gonna go in between here. The reason there's enough play is this slides over the top of the frame. So, when we put that in there, we need to make sure we put that sleeve in there or it's gonna crush down on the bracket. The last step is to drill out the frame. You're gonna drill a 1/2 inch hole for these bolts to go straight through that frame and clamp the bracket down around the frame. So we finished up installing all the brackets, and you can obviously see the radius arm, how much lower it is and how much flatter it is. Now with that being flat, it puts less deflection in the frame when we hit a bump. So you think about that flat radius arm, when you hit a bump, more of the force goes up into the spring where we want it. When we're done with our install, we torque all the bolts, go out, drive the vehicle, we bring it back in, torque them all down again. Any bolt that it has a bushing inside, we like to torque them at ride height. So we don't want it hanging up in the air. We set it down on the ground, torque all the nuts and bolts. The install is complete. Follow along, we'll have a full long-term review.